Hi, my name's Ava Hewitt, and this is my presentation for the family interview that I conducted. For this assignment, I had the privilege of interviewing Shannon regarding her son Connor. For basic information, Shannon is my mother's coworker, and she is a social worker in a middle school. So let's introduce the star of the show, Connor. Connor is 10 years old and in the fourth grade. As a young boy, he enjoys all things like most boys his age, sports, but he specifically excels in wrestling and soccer. He loves to climb and move around, so most family activities and outings revolve around movement, with lots of hikes, park visits, and more. From the learning aspect, Connor has recently been diagnosed with ADHD as well as dyslexia. Connor is an only child living with his mother, father, and new puppy. Connor is a neighbor to two twin boys, both of whom are his classmates and best friends. Other supporting family members include Shannon's parents, as well as other extended family. He is surrounded by love and support constantly, and it is important to note that Connor, based on his parents' experience, best interest, and overall decision, has not been made aware of these diagnoses. His father also has ADHD, and based on his lived experiences and opinion, he feels as though making Connor aware of a named condition is not in his best interest. This is important to note as it means the change within his friends, relationships, and really all aspects of life outside of school have not changed much. Now, what is ADHD? It stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactive Disorder, and it is considered a neurodevelopmental disorder that mainly impacts one's focus, concentration, and overall ability to pay attention. Those with ADHD are within a very broad age range, with doctors looking at symptoms starting before 12 all the way up to older adults. ADHD is treatable with medications or therapy, both of which Connor does not take. What is dyslexia? Dyslexia is a learning disorder, or more specifically, a language processing disorder. There's no single type of dyslexia, as it is quite unique for everyone, with issues or difficulties with reading being the most common attribute. The average age of diagnosis is typically 5 to 6, as this is when kids are much more involved with reading and phonetics, allowing teachers and parents to recognize areas of struggle. To better understand these two disorders, let's talk about the common characteristics of each. For dyslexia, some of the most common characteristics are struggles in phonetics and the like, so rhyming, blending, segmenting, etc. Decoding words, limited vocab, spelling and writing, and slow reading rates are also impacted. ADHD faces struggles more along that of fidgeting, concentration, organization, forgetfulness, and more. So, what are Connor's characteristics that align with the two? For ADHD, he has short attention span, lack of organization, highly active, and difficulty focusing. For the short attention span aspect, Shannon did talk about how his morning routines and night routines are rather difficult in the house. They're both things that do have time constraints, so brushing his teeth on time, making his bed, packing his bag, eating his breakfast, all these things can be quite tedious and repetitive in reminding Connor. As for dyslexia, he has poor decoding skills, low reading level, trouble summarizing, and difficulty following instructions. These issues are highly relevant in his language arts classes, but they are now seeping into his math skills. Connor generally is good at math, but now in the fourth grade, the problems do have more words and they are multi-step. So that is proving to be a big issue for Connor. So his supports and needs. Connor currently has an IEP in place, but while he was being tested, he had a 504. He has no other related services, and he does get pull-out services 2 times a week. I also want to note that Shannon did get an external neuropsychologist to look at Connor outside of the CST, and she is very, very happy that she did get that done because she felt it was much more in depth than what the CST was providing her. So his IEP yearly goals and objectives, I just want to go over. They heavily focus on decoding, higher reading level or words per minute, summarizing and concluding, and organizing and planning. So, some impactful lessons and things that I learned. Patience. Kids are very, very sensitive to any negativity and they always try to do their best. Shannon did note she understands as a parent, and just working in middle school with younger kids, it is really hard to stay positive and focus on the positive when you do have to constantly remind these children about their tasks and keep them in order. But it really does make a difference. And hand in hand with that, we have positivity. Kids need positivity in their lives, and they need their teachers and their loved ones to focus on their strengths and build their confidence. This relates to Connor a lot, actually, because Shannon talked about how Connor can be quite self deprecating. And previously, with negative interactions with teachers, they would really just focus on his weaknesses and put him down. And that did really, really impact him and how he felt about himself. So, staying positive and focusing on their strength is really important. Lastly, we have communication. So, always communicate with the parents what they're good and what they're bad at, and be consistent and often with these updates. So, some reflections for teaching and some thoughts that I had. For learning, I thought maybe some parent workshops or resource centers, in person and online, where parents can share with me some more information. I can share with parents more information. Socializing, we have social events or cultural nights if possible to boost morale and meet the families a bit more. And then communication, using digital platforms like Google Classroom to privately email or contact the parents to communicate what their student is excelling or what they need a little help with. Okay, so that was the end of my presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed. And if there are any questions, do feel free to ask.